Namaskaram. It's a really great honor to be here to talk about generative AI. But rather than me talk about generative AI to start this, I want to show you what it does. What is the biggest benefit of generative AI? What is the one single, if we could summarize it, one biggest benefit is automation. It automates tasks. So you will see, I want to ask a very simple question on IBM's journey in Kochi. We have been here for 2 years, and what has our journey been? Our journey has been, over the 2 years, tie up with universities, working with students, working with the government, new innovations coming, new products coming. But that all can be a lot of work. But using generative AI, you will see in less than 5 seconds, you can see that data summarized in the web page. So Ratish is here. He's going to take us through it live to show us how the journey of IBM in IBM Kochi has been. So Ratish.
So when you said summarize, we thought we should add a twist to it. So why don't we do it through Dinesh's eyes with a collage, right? So
you see this. You see that it has taken all the information from multiple sources and summarized it along with the photo library in less than 5 seconds. That is the power of generative AI. And even today's, I think, is there. Is it today's event also is there, the picture? So you see it. That's the power of generative AI. Thank you, Ratish. I just wanted to show the audience the power of generative AI, not just me talking about it. Thank you. Ratish did all the work, but I'll take it. So think about it. This is why it's catching up like fire, because you can take 2 years' worth of information from multiple sources and summarize it into a paragraph, 2 or 3 paragraphs, along with pictures in less than 5 seconds. Now think about an enterprise adopting it. They have optimized and made their employees more productive. That is the biggest benefit generative AI is bringing. Now, if you look at India, India is supposed to gain $1 trillion, $1 trillion in uplift by 2035 to the India economy. That's huge. That is the kind of impact we are looking at from a generative AI perspective. This will create more jobs. This will change the way we commerce, change the way we communicate, change the way we do things. Why do I say that? I'll give you my own example. I have a 13-year-old. Trust me, he never delivers homework assignments on time. Never. 2 weeks ago, he goes, I have an assignment to write about Romanian history. I said, okay, this one is also going to be late. 3 days before the assignment is due, he comes to me and says, Daddy, I'm done. It's all neatly done, put it on my desk. I said, wow, that's impressive. How did you do it? He goes, I didn't do it, ChatGPT did it. That is the other side of productivity that's coming. But everybody's using it. Why? Because it enables everyone to do their jobs better. Think about if you're a bank, a customer calls you. Before, a customer service representative had to go through multiple documents to answer the question. Now using generative AI, they can, at their fingertips, within seconds, they can get the answer. As soon as the call is hung up, they can classify it as based on sentiment to say how the call went. Now, can the machine learning do it? Of course it can do it. Machine learning can also do classification. It can also do prediction. But what generative AI can do is that it can do it at scale. That is a huge differentiation that generative AI brings. So that productivity the optimization, the benefit that enterprises bring to customers, that is what's driving the generative AI. That is why everybody wants to adopt generative AI, because it brings every aspect of an enterprise to succeed and survive. So $1 trillion. Now, another statistics, which is 49%, and this is an India-specific stats, 49% of Indian CEOs are going to hire folks for generative AI that they did not plan last year. That's close to 50% of all CEOs wants to hire generative AI-specific jobs that they didn't think about it last year. That is the pace that generative AI is moving at. Think about it. If you just look at just the models, right? You go to Hugging Face, there is 694,000 models. 694,000 models. I mean, think about it. No human being in their right mind will be able to go through every single model and figure out which model they want. Look at the size of the models. It has gone from 10 billion parameter to 30 to 50 to 100. So the size of the model has changed. The number of models have changed. Why? Because it's really changing the way we work, the way we communicate, the way we commerce. And that's why the CEOs wants to hire more people for generative AI. That's why India has such a great potential, because where can you get the skills to really drive the generative AI the way we can? Nobody else can. So skills becomes a critical piece. What is the other one, right? Not only skills, how can we make sure there's enough data? India has 1 billion people. How can you get any more data more than that? So if all this promise of generative AI is true, if all this promise is true, only 10% of the enterprises have really put generative AI into production. Why is that? I mean, we talk about promise of generative AI, we talk about the benefits of generative AI, we talk about the productivity, the optimization of generative AI, but only 10% of the worldwide enterprises have really put generative AI into production. That kind of begs the question, why? I want to take you through it, but not only take you through it, I'm going to bring some guests on stage later from different sectors to talk about why is that enterprise cannot easily adopt generative AI. What is preventing them from adopting the generative AI? I have one word for it. Because no enterprise, unless that enterprise was born in the last 2 years, they have an existing infrastructure. They have an existing infrastructure. They have multiple personas and practitioners that exist in that enterprise. I mean, no enterprise, now big enterprise was born in the last 2 years. They have been around for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Look at IBM. We have been around for 112 years. Still doing great. So many of these enterprises have been around for a very long time. So then how do you infuse generative AI into that? There's multiple personas that exist there. I'll give you a simple example of one enterprise that I work with. 10 billion API calls on Thanksgiving week. 10 billion API calls. 100 billion transactions on Thanksgiving week. 100,000 data transformations. I can go on and on and on. That is a single enterprise. That is the complexity you're dealing with. Now, take that in and look at the different practitioners and different personas that exist. There's a developer. There's a DevOps person. There's a data scientist. There's a SecOps. There's MLOps. These are all different personas that exist. Now you have to bring everybody together. Not only that, you have to infuse generative AI into the existing infrastructure. Let me give you an example. This is real scenario. This is the complexity that exists in an enterprise. There's a development phase. I mean, forget the development phase. There's a build phase. There's, release. There's all those things. But I'm simplifying it. There's a development phase. There's a deployment phase. Then you have governance aspects to it. But look at all the frameworks that exist. Me as an application developer can use Llama Index, LangChain, any of those frameworks to do application development. Those are all frameworks that exist. Now, as I develop more and more code and more applications, complexity only increases. How do I deploy this application? How do I govern these models that I'm going to put out there? Everybody talks about responsible AI, which is very critical, but I also talk about risk in AI. I mean, the responsible AI is when you have to make sure that bias doesn't exist, HAP, which is hate, abuse, profanity, there's filters for it. But there's an aspect called risk in AI. What is that? That is when, look at all the open source packages that's coming. What is the vulnerabilities that exist with it? What licenses those open source packages have? What risk that brings into your enterprise? So there's a risk in AI along with the responsible AI. But the picture that you see is a real enterprise that's going through a development, deployment, and all those phases. And now you add even more complexity to say, how do I make sure I infuse generative AI into the existing set of tools, the existing set of tools that exist within an enterprise? So what do you need? How do you simplify it? How can you make sure enterprises can adopt generative AI? I call it the 4 things. The 4 core things. You need a platform. You need to build, run, and manage. But there is an element that nobody talks about, which is very important, which is culture. Unless that culture is coming bottoms up, not tops down, nothing will happen. I'll give you another example. I'm working with a large enterprise where they're using generative AI for code generation. The top management has said every developer has to use generative AI to generate code. It has been 6 months. Guess what percentage of their developers have adopted it? 8%. 8%. This is one of the challenges. While you need a set of tools, you also need a cultural change that needs to come from bottoms up, not tops down. So these are the 5 core things you need as a platform. How do you build, manage, run? But you need to bring a cultural change with it. So what did we do, right? I mean, along with other vendors, IBM is also playing very into generative AI. What are we doing? How are we managing? As we go to our clients, we talk about generative AI, but we also bring our platform. I know there's a lot in here. I want you to focus on 3 things. 3 things. It all starts with data. It all starts with data. You have to make sure you have clean, curated data to fine-tune the model. Because you can get the base model. Now you have to use your enterprise data to fine-tune it. So that's number 1. The data becomes the most critical aspect of generative AI. And that's why even in Kochi, we have a data team that's focused on how do we create a lakehouse to put all the data that's coming in that's unstructured. So data becomes the most important critical phase. The second one is all about models. Can you get the prompt engineering? Can you get fine-tuning done for the models? And there's plenty of models out there. Like I said, if you go to Hugging Face, there's 690,000 plus models out there. So there's no shortage of models, but how do you pick the right model for your use case?
Which website?
The third one is governance. And we have a session that's totally focused on governance. How do I make sure this model is not drifting? How do I make sure the model doesn't hallucinate? How do I make sure the model doesn't have hate, abuse, and profanity. That's what the enterprises are worried about. Because none of these enterprises want to be on the headlines of newspapers because they pick the wrong model. The fourth, but the final one, is assistance. How do you build a set of assistants on top of it? So if you can bring these four things together, and that's what we focused on from an IBM perspective, to say, how can we give the data available? Two, how can we create a set of models that's available to our customers? How can we put a governance on top of it? And last but least, have a set of assistants that can run on it. Those are the four core things that we focused on from a watsonx perspective for our customers. And it's resonating really well. Look at all the customers, and this is just a set of customers. SAP, in India we are working with Wipro. I mean, these are customers that we could put the names out, but it is really getting adopted. And the reason is, I always go back, because it allows you to automate. It allows you to make your people more productive. It allows you to make your enterprises more optimized. And I know I talked a lot about generative AI, but I want you to see in action. So I'm going to bring two people from local lab. The first person is Sudhish Kairali, who is going to come on stage. And the second person is Renu Thangachan. They are both in Kochi lab, working closely on creating generative AI. So you will see, what will you see? You will see how easy it is to fine-tune a model using your laptop. On your laptop, Sudhish is going to show that work is being done in Kochi, where you take a large model, you fine-tune it on your laptop. Not only will you fine-tune, you will see the improvement that happens in real time. And then Renu is going to come back and talk about the assistant to say, how can you infuse that model into a real-life use case to help customers and enterprise drive it. So please welcome Renu and Sudhish to stage to show a live demo.
Thank you, Dinesh, for setting the stage for us and clearly talking about the valuable insights about generative AI. It's clearly visible to us that the entire world is excited to use generative AI and solve the real-life problems for them. And here we are going to talk about how to use this and actually practically solve some real-life world problems.
Yes. So generative AI is a spark that will propel each of us into the future of work, always growing, always improving, and finding better ways to serve as a catalyst for IBM, our partners, our clients, and even to the whole world. Today, me and Sudhish will take you all through the process of fine-tuning an LLM, or a large language model, and how to utilize such an LLM in a daily life scenario to simplify, automate, and optimize your mundane task.
If you go to open source Hugging Face and search for your favorite LLM, you are going to see thousands of versions of it. Because somebody was able to develop, add knowledge, and tune the model, but they were not able to contribute it back. Instruct Lab is a novel technology invented by IBM and Red Hat exactly to solve that problem.
So, Sudhish, I do have my laptop. Can you do this fine-tuning with my laptop?
Absolutely. Instruct Lab comes with what we call iLab CLI. This is a CLI tooling. And with this CLI tooling, you can install in such as MacBook M3, which has some GPUs.
Okay.
And then you can develop some knowledge into an LLM using conversational experience. It has series of commands. And right now you have the Merlinite model hosted in my laptop. Do you have any specific knowledge you want to add to this model?
Yes, since we both are from IBM Kochi, I would like to know the key products developed in IBM Kochi, maybe the focus areas of IBM Kochi, and where is IBM Kochi?
The first question is in what are the main products developed in IBM Kochi,
Yes.
and let's see what the open source Merlin model is going to respond back.
Yes.
So let's see whether you are excited about this answer, Renu.
It doesn't quite seem to be right. I do expect IBM watsonx Orchestrate to be listed here, but I don't see that in the screen.
And the second question is also very interesting. So the focus area for us of IBM Kochi,
That's right.
it is artificial intelligence and automation among other areas.
That's right.
And it's clearly visible to us that the model is hallucinating here.
Correct. And the third question is, where is IBM Kochi? And let's see what
We should
LLM
see
needs
Kerala in there, isn't it?
That's right. I'm expecting Kerala in that.
Yeah, and you can see that the model is hallucinating there as well.
That's right. Help me fix this.
Yeah, you can simply fix it using, develop a taxonomy. Taxonomy is nothing but a YAML file with a sample question and answer pair and a
Okay.
reference to actual knowledge. In this case, you have to have sample questions about IBM Kochi, and you need to also have a knowledge base which is having some articulation about what IBM Kochi has, right? So you can see that. And once the taxonomy is available, all you have to do is use InstructLab, iLab CLI, and generate synthetic data.
Okay.
To tune an LLM, you need question and answer pair. Basically, we create it manually, but using iLab CLI, you can automatically, synthetically generate that. It's a lot of accuracy.
Fantastic.
And once you have the synthetic data, use iLab commands further, and then there is a command called iLab train.
Okay.
With that, you can actually train any LLM in laptop. So now, in order to host an LLM in a laptop, you need to have a very compressed, quantized model, and a lot of innovation happened there. Using iLab serve command, you can host a quantized, tuned model in a laptop, such as in MacBook M3. And right now, the training has been done, and we have added the knowledge about IBM Kochi. Do you want to ask and repeat the same questions there?
Exactly, I'm going to do that. So I can compare how the base large language model and a fine-tuned one is responding to the same questions.
Yeah, so what you see here is you have the instructed model created in a laptop, and I am serving that model. It's a quantized model. It's a compressed version. You can run
Okay.
an LLM in laptop, which has the very specific, customized knowledge we have added to it.
Okay.
And we are going to repeat the same questions.
That's
What
right.
are the main products, developed? And what do you think about this answer, Renu?
Now I'm thrilled. I can see IBM watsonx Orchestrate listed among other key products.
And I see watsonx there as well.
That's right.
And the second focus areas, we are expected to see, artificial intelligence and automation. That was missing the answer from the open source LLM.
Correct.
And we could see that as well here.
Yeah, and even the location also seems to share Kerala in it. So this is really good, Sudhish. So can you also share a bit more context on how you do this enterprise-grade tuning?
Yeah. So in order to, to take it to production, an LLM,
Okay.
we have to consider a lot of other facts. So
That's right.
InstructLab has a backend. A backend is nothing but series of orchestrators, which is running in large OpenShift clusters, and which has a lot of GPUs attached to it. It also has something what we call teacher model, which is another LLM which is going to pick the taxonomy that you develop, and
Okay.
then once you send it to that, and it will automatically create synthetic data. In this case, it's not going to create 25 question and sample pair. It's going to create tens and thousands of actual question and answer pair, and
That's
then it will
fantastic.
tune. And there is also a critique model which can look into this, the sanity of the whole process, the bias of the model and other things. And then finally, the resultant model will be fully knowledgeable. It is a fully scalable, enterprise-grade model. Now, in order to really show you a demo, we are also using watsonx AI. watsonx AI is our AI platform where you can bring your own model. So, and we have used a technical manual which is about ZOS subsystem.
Great.
Just to summarize for the audience, it's actually big, say 16, 17 chapters, and we have created knowledge base out of it, and then it went through the same pipeline. And watsonx AI has an ability to host your own models, and you can see instruct model created using the InstructLab process as well as the base model. And we created a very specific chatbot for this AI conclave. It's called InstructBot, and that is
Fantastic.
also available in DemoPad. So this InstructBot can now talk to both instructed model and base model. And we are going to ask some very specific questions about, for example, HSM. HSM is hierarchical storage management in the context of ZOS. And the InstructBot is going to ask the same question to the chat, to both the base models as well as the tuned model. And you can clearly see that the base model is thinking that it is hardware security model, which is a clear-cut hallucination.
Yes. And I think the tuned one is also picking the right one. So
Yeah.
this is spellbound, Sudesh. Fantastic indeed. Such an easy manner you are conversing with a fine-tuned large language model.
Yep. So
Yes.
what we were able to do was what was impossible, right? Previously, we
That's
were able
right.
to create some very specific knowledge about IBM Kochi here in a laptop. And then, we are also able to now create production-grade models in a quick fashion using these, fine-tuned pipelines.
Yes.
So I think I have talked about enough technical stuff here.
That's right. That's right.
It's time to talk about and how to solve some real-world problems. What do you have in your bag today, Renu, for this?
Okay, so Siddhesh, since you have shown us how to train a large language model, I thought of using such a large language model in KYC verification in a field called institutional lending.
Institutional lending. Can
That's
you brief
right.
about that a little bit?
Institutional lending is like big financial institutions like banks are providing credit or loan to individuals or small businesses. So you know that Kerala is having emerging startup missions. So institutional lending is also playing key role in that. I will be showing you a demo for a requester who has requested for a loan to a famous bank and how her KYC verification is done in a seamless manner using generative AI.
It seems to me like a very, very busy use case
That's
to me.
right, that's
Do you
right.
have some roles in mind for the audience?
Yes. So what you see behind the screen is Mary Thomas. She owns a healthcare business and she is looking for a funding to run her business. So this is our Globe Banking and Financial Services online website. Now we can see that Mary is conversing with the generative AI assistant of the bank.
And it is awesome to see the embedded assistant experience. And
That's right.
looking like Mary is requesting for a loan of 20 lakh, is it?
That's right. So here, the purpose is a loan request. And it is wonderful to see that the Gen AI has rightly picked up the relevant options as well as the questions that Mary needs to be asked for. So the role of Mary is very simple. She just needs to answer what the generative AI is asking her. So in few moments, you can also witness that this conversational experience is getting shifted to a form-based experience.
Awesome.
Yeah. We all know that when we request for a loan, we will be subjected to upload many data, including the PAN card, the bank statement, the balance sheet, etc. So this will be very much relevant when it comes to be a form-based experience. So upon submitting the request successfully, she can get a auto-generated mail as well as a request ID. When generative AI is helping her to do all these things, she can also backtrack the loan request that she has submitted using these proofs. So what do you think about this process of requesting a loan using a generative AI-backed assistant?
I remember the last time when I requested the loan, it was so many number of steps.
That's right. That's right.
And is that all what Mary has to do?
This is what Mary has to do, and here ends the role of Mary Thomas. So the next, I would like to take you to Rakesh Samuel. Who is Rakesh? Rakesh is an employee of our Globe Banking and Financial Services. He works for the background verification department. So for every single loan request that has come to his bank, you imagine the amount of work that this person has to do. Right from checking the authenticity of the uploaded documents, running the background analysis, checking the financial status of the company, then collating all this information and sending to the KYC manager for the final approval. So what do you think about his life?
And this is a very busy life.
Yes.
It seems like he has to do a lot of things. With this, I think he's going to take at least 10, 15 days to even complete one loan request. Besides that, he's going to work on multiple simultaneous stuff, such stuff.
That's right. But you needn't be sorry when generative AI is here to help him out. This is the dashboard of Rakesh Samuel, what you see in my screen. So Rakesh is going to converse with the bot. So Sudesh, how will it feel when you come and log in for the day, someone is going to tell you, hey, you have these many action items to be taken. So how will be that experience?
That's what anybody would want to get it.
Yeah, this is exactly what is happening with Rakesh when generative AI is helping him to see the pending KYC request. He selects Mary's loan request and he's trying to proceed with that. Let's see what.
And then, see, I can see that the next action is one click away.
That's
just
right.
awesome.
That's right. For any new KYC scrutinizer being recruited for the bank, he need not want to go through the different process handbooks. It is just a few clicks away to get the next action that he needs to take upon. So this generative AI is literally taking the documents uploaded by Mary Thomas, checking the different government websites to collate the data, and giving you the results of the same. The most critical part of institutional lending is background verification. And generative AI is really helping Rakesh to achieve that. The other important task in generative AI-backed institutional lending is collating all this data. So the verification of the PAN card and GST, running the financial analysis, and checking the background information about the company. All these tasks are being collated into a single form so that Rakesh can check for all these customized responses generated by the assistant. And he can still arrive into a conclusion basis the Gen AI analysis that will happen towards the end. So with this, Rakesh's life is made simple. He can very well decide whether this loan request is a go or a no-go. And Sudesh, do you think humans are superior to AI?
Yeah, we always want to verify, we want to govern what AI does for us.
Yeah, it's an absolute no-brainer. So that is what is happening now when Rakesh is getting an opportunity to submit his comments before he sends for the final approval. So the KYC manager, who is the final authority to sign this, has to do nothing but check the AI analysis plus Rakesh's analysis and arrive into a conclusion to approve or reject this loan. So what you see right now is that instead of going through different websites to get this data, Rakesh hasn't left the assistant at all. It is literally moving mountains for Rakesh.
Yeah, what I initially thought that it would take at least 10, 15 days, it's going to take only a few hours for him to complete such a multiple requests.
That's right. With generative AI, we are accomplishing increased productivity, better risk assessment, better accuracy, better decision-making capability, and whatnot. So I encourage each and every one of you sitting over here to utilize the power of generative AI and transform your business into next level.
Yeah, and we would also like to thank both Instruct Lab and the Orchestrate team who set up this demo, as well as it's available outside in the demo parts, among with various interesting other demos. With that, I would like to welcome Dinesh back to the stage.
Thank you all. Thank you all for being patient listeners.
Thank you, Sutish, and thank you, Renu. Both of them from our Kochi lab, so I really appreciate you coming in, showing them how the generative AI models work, and also talk about how you can infuse that into the existing enterprise application. Before I bring the guests out, I want to show one last slide, which is very powerful, which is there is no way, nothing can expand unless it's a partnership. So we formed a partnership with Meta. We formed a partnership with many companies, but not just companies, with nonprofits, with universities, with government agencies, to bring this alliance forward to make sure everyone benefits from it. Not just big companies, but everybody, every universities, every nonprofit, students, they can all sign up to make sure that they get the benefit of generative AI. I mean, look at some of the numbers. More than 400,000, more than 1 billion. I mean, those are the kind of numbers we are looking at in Alliance to help enterprises, small startups, universities, everybody benefit from it. So this is the alliance we formed this year to make sure that we enable and help everybody understand and help with generative AI. So now I want to bring the guest out here. So let's bring our guests out to talk about how they are using generative AI within their enterprises.
Ladies and gentlemen, joining Mr. Dinesh Nirmal, who will be the moderator, let's welcome the panelists. First up, Mr. Amit Kumar, Managing Director and Partner, Boston Consulting Group.